Live. Matt is celebrating already. Live from America's favorite cul-de-sac. And think about it. Is there any possibility, Matt, that America has any cul-de-sac that it actually likes? It's your daily dose of Scrumdiddly Biz Nuggets, joined as always by Electric, Emma Lurking, and myopic Matt Moscardi. I'm Seth Rogen's other Rogan. Today, in our reversible bag of nuggets called December 6th, 2021, we're going to shame Japan. We got some exciting antitrust news. Matt eats tacos.
I do.
Complains about COVID. We've got some creepy Zoom firing. We just got a bunch of fun stuff. Come on.
That's my favorite story of the day. Let's do it.
Let's start at the top where I'll kind of depress you a little bit. Japan quietly endorses fossil fuel investments weeks after COP26.
that is depressing.
It's been less than a month since world leaders pledged to combat climate change at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. Yet Japan is already showing signs of putting the brakes on divestment from fossil fuels. Government officials have been quietly urging trading houses, refiners, and utilities to slow down their move away from fossil fuels and even encouraging new investments in oil and gas projects. So, am I officially allowed to shame Japan now?
Oh, good question.
Matt
were
knows.
You ever unofficially not allowed?
Well, Matt knows that one of my biggest pet peeves while working for MSCI was that I was never allowed to loudly shame Asian countries for their embarrassing lack of corporate gender equity. See how I pivoted to a whole new topic? According to the New York Times, only 6% of directors at listed companies in Japan are women. Emma, 6%.
Yeah.
Let's do some populist math. That means
math.
you would need a board of 16 before you would statistically see the need for a women's bathroom. In fact, according to MSCI, Japan's largest 700 companies, a full 29% of them have not even built a women's bathroom next to its boardroom. Okay?
That's expensive.
A special shout out to the board at Shin Etsu Chemical, where there are 21 dudes and 0 non-dudes.
Where do you find 21 dudes?
Only 2 Japanese companies even have 4 women on the board, Sony and Mitsubishi Motors. Before you get too excited, Emma, Mitsubishi Motors has a total of 15 directors, so it's not exactly Real Housewives of Osaka in that boardroom. Finally, in a bit of absurdist theater, Japan instituted a mandate in 2014 requiring 30% of leadership positions to be held by women by 2030. The best part of this slow, like Okinawa black molasses mandate is that it is completely voluntary.
That's good.
Completely voluntary mandate. According to MSCI, the percentage of women in leadership in 2020 stands at a lowly 5% in Japan.
That sounds high.
And at Japan's 320 largest corporations, 0.6% of CEOs are women. There you have it. Some good old-fashioned gender equity shaming. You're welcome, Japan.
I think when it's 0.6%, you just use like the number 2, right? Like, isn't that
I just wanted to say 0.6. I just really wanted to say that.
Speaking of shame, Norwegian cruise liner called Breakaway reported at least, this is the story, at least 10 passengers and crew members infected with our favorite global pandemic sauce yesterday. Can we just admit that cruise ships are like my heroin? I cannot keep away from a good cruise ship causes diarrhea story anymore. It's just my favorite. And other than saying, stop taking fucking cruises, idiots, here's my favorite part of the story. Passenger Dan Cannoli, like that's a real human, was interviewed by a local Louisiana television reporter about the cases, to which he responded, quote, "We didn't hear of this until we kind of heard you talking about it a second ago." Norwegian asked infected passengers to, quote, "travel by personal vehicle to their personal residence," end quote. This is year 2 of the pandemic, and this is what we're doing. Can't figure out why this thing never ends.
I should ask Dan Cannoli, are we allowed to say the F word on LinkedIn? Because I know we're streaming this on LinkedIn. Are we even allowed?
I've been thinking about that, but I think
Dan Cannoli
rules. Dan Canoli would say, I just heard the F word for the first time when you said it just
Kind
now.
of. You kind of heard it.
Well, speaking of whether or not saying the F word on LinkedIn is appropriate or not, I think I'm going to use it in a second. I would like to preface my story with an apology for the lack of comedic content because
That's
it
all of
turns
your
out-
stories, Emma. Cheers.
Cheers. It turns out that it's really fucking hard to make processing units funny.
Oh my God. Sorry.
I know,
everyone.
shocking for me. NVIDIA is being sued by the FTC in order to block its acquisition of ARM, a chip manufacturer whose chips are used by over 500 tech companies globally. Confession time, I read headlines about NVIDIA almost every single day of my life, and until today, I had no idea what they do. Turns out that it really isn't different from what ARM does. I won't subject you to the acronyms and the heinous tech language that I subjected myself to today, but they both make chips and software. It's really not worth much more explanation than that. But ARM is actually owned by SoftBank, who would be selling it to NVIDIA. If SoftBank is ringing a bell for you, you might better know them as the company who invested $4.4 billion in WeWork about 2 years before its spectacular meltdown. But the most notable thing about this case is that, unlike most antitrust cases, this one is actually not particularly controversial. The usual tech demons like Microsoft, Alphabet, and Intel are throwing a hissy fit about the acquisition, and for once, I actually agree with them. Thank you. ARM is considered the Switzerland of their industry because they'll license their chips to anyone, including competitors. Not very capitalist of them, but by taking ownership of ARM, NVIDIA would be in the position to control the price and access to technology that more or less every large tech company in the world uses. This is where newly appointed FTC Chair Lina Khan comes in. Chairperson Khan rose to prominence by publicly criticizing Amazon for their anti-competitive practices. I've never written fan mail, but Lena might be the one to break me. However, Chairperson Khan seems to be putting Amazon aside for the moment in favor of what will hopefully be an easy win against NVIDIA. Considering she has the EU, the UK, and almost every major tech company backing her lawsuit, it seems like there's a pretty good shot they can block the purchase.
Did we just do antitrust news, Matt? What's happening?
I feel like doused in antitrustism right now.
Did you just go to Georgetown Law, Emma? Are you announcing your law degree?
Oh, I really hope not for the sake of those around me.
Speaking
Next
of
week
big
on Biz
news-
Nuggets, Emma will be covering mergers and acquisitions.
I will be
Speaking
giving
of
an
big
LSAT
news,
prep course.
big news today. Authenticity was pronounced dead this morning.
Yes. Come on, bring us up.
After it was announced that Jack in the Box, a fast food chain started by Bob Peterson in 1951 that produces
Bob.
Americanized egg rolls and tacos, was acquiring Del Taco, a Mexican chain started by Ed Hackbarth and David Jameson that serves Americanized Mexicans.
I've never been to both. I feel sad about that.
The acquisition will cost Jack in the Box $575 million, and in a way is a merger of equals. Both firms are either being sued or settling claims that they treat their workers like shit. Del Taco settled in October a lawsuit that it sexually harasses its female employees. Congratulations to them finally getting that out of the way. And in January of this year, a class action was filed against Jack in the Box for unpaid wages and labor violations. In response to the acquisition, Activision Blizzard management was thrilled, as Activision's headquarters is located exactly 10 minutes in either direction from now a sexual harasser and another disgruntled labor force. It's perfect for them.
First cousins.
They can get their food from equals themselves. Congratulations on that.
And finally, let's end on this. Better.com CEO fires 900 employees over Zoom.
This is the story. This is it.
I'm already excited. Better.com CEO Vishal Garg. Who doesn't love a CEO named Garg, Matt? Garg? Come on.
He's an
Announced-
LE away from Gargle.
Announced the mortgage company is laying off about 9% of its workforce. First of all, who knew that Better.com had 10,000 employees? I feel frightened. Laying off the workforce on a Zoom webinar last Wednesday, abruptly informing the more than 900 employees on the call they were being terminated just before the holidays. So that makes me think, Matt, that if it was a webinar, that it was a false pretense, right? They were showing up to learn how to use their wireless mouse or something.
It took me a good 10 minutes of reading the story to realize he fired them all simultaneously on the webinar. Like, I was like, oh, he had webinars with each of them to fire them, like over Zoom, and that was the outrage.
God, that would take too
No,
much time.
he
Garg is
invited
busy.
900
Yeah.
people to one webinar and then
which
said,
probably wasn't
you're
called
all
the-
fired.
Which probably was not called the "You're Getting Fired" webinar. That's all
I'm
trying
pretty
to
sure
say.
I would have declined that invite
Yeah.
if it was called the You're Getting Canned webinar. And instead, he probably called it like team management, like, or something. Imagine being the person who is like in the bathroom, like, oh, I'll catch up in a few minutes. When
Oh.
your
Stay
boss,
in the
Vishal
bathroom.
Gargle, is
Linda.
firing you all.
Garg said, "If you're on this call, you are part of the unlucky group that is being laid off. Your employment here is terminated effective immediately. So stay in the bathroom." Indeed, he said, "This is the second time in my career I'm doing this, and I do not want to do this. The last time I did it, I cried."
Aw.
Reports are that he did not cry this time, so maybe he doesn't really like these 900 people, or maybe he's a hardened assassin now. I don't know. Fortune later reported Garg accused the employees of stealing from their colleagues and customers by being unproductive and only working 2 hours a day. Among those fired were the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Recruiting Team.
The entire team.
Garg, whose grueling management style was a subject of a 2020 Forbes report, once sent an email to staff that read, here's the actual email, this is all caps, "You are too damn slow. You are a bunch of dumb dolphins. So stop it right now. You are embarrassing me." It was also reported in August that one of Garg's most loyal lieutenant, Elena Knoller, Better's chief product officer, received massive perks and was eventually placed on administrative leave following allegations of bullying. And finally, Better.com reportedly changed its corporate motto to "Getting fired from Better.com, the perfect holiday gift."
That was our day's bag of dumb dolphin biz nuggets. If you want some more dolphin nuggets, stop it right now. You're embarrassing me. But tune in tomorrow at around the same time and around the same place where we'll bring you the day's news. That's Damian Rallis and Emma Lurking. I was Matt Muscardi. We are Free Float Media. Goodbye.